Welcome to the live Substack friends. We are here with Eugene and Symone from MS Now and from the Clock It podcast, their new podcast that takes their group chat to the public because we can't be having y'all keeping those clapbacks and brilliant ideas to yourselves. So really fun show. And today we're going to go live for just a little bit to talk about all the things, new media, journalism, who's telling the truth, who's lying, and how we find out. So thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you for having us. First of all, this is my first Substack Live.
It is.
Oh the chat is populating. The people are joining. Greetings.
I'm scared.
Yes. Oh, you're in good company. These are the fans of Under the Desk News have called themselves the Dust Bunnies, and they are the sweetest little angels because we're under the desk, and they're the best people in the whole world. So for your first Substack Live, just know it's not so this nice on everybody's show, okay? This is going to be a very warm and beautiful place under the desk.
Clock it.
Yes, Clock it. That's tea. So speaking of Clock It, tell me about the show. What's it been like? How have you enjoyed it compared to like being TV people? You're in the new media now.
Yeah, we are on the old new media, right? Like there's like podcasting is basically like radio shows from when our parents were kids, and now we changed it back. So this we're in week 8, right, Symone? Like our 8th episode is coming up this week. We have a very, very special guest. You all love her. I know you do. So you're gonna want that. It comes out on Thursday. Everywhere you get your podcast and on our YouTube channel, MS Now's YouTube channel. The idea came from literally me and Symone knowing each other for a decade. I'm going from like on opposite sides of the phone, yelling at each other about my stories and the people that she worked for. And just both of us understanding and really thinking and caring about the fact that culture and politics are linked and that a lot of the conversation we feel happens in, the media space is as if culture doesn't influence policy and politics. And it does every single day. You know who understands that? Donald Trump, Republicans. And so this was a way for us to have the conversations we already have. And like you said, bring folks into our group chat. And so it's been really fun. It is very different than like you can get a little too comfortable. It is hard, but also you get a little too comfortable sitting there with just a mic in your face and know.
You do.
Thank goodness for the editors.
Correct.
I do my show live. We have no time to react. I like feel like I'm like sitting in my room, right? And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh man, that's gonna get clipped.
This one's going viral. I think what has been really interesting is that when Eugene and I are like out in the wild when we're traveling or maybe even I don't know if Eugene is going to the grocery store, but I am.
I don't cook, is what she's saying.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Yes. But people are watching it. They're listening to it. Yeah. And I think we are meeting people where they are. When I used to be a working strategist in Democratic Party politics, I would always talk about we have to meet people where they are. The beauty shops, the barber shops, and the Bible studies, for lack of a better term. Well, people are online. And you have to I think this is a recognition from not just us, but our network, MS Now, that they know that everybody is not going in and turning on television now. I still think when something happens in the world, people turn on the television. Okay, like when we bombed Iran, people were like, "Well, what is?" They weren't going to the podcast first. We all were like, "Well, tell me what is going on. What clicks on TV." So I think that linear television, TV is still very important, but this new media space is not it's complementary to what we are doing on television, and it's necessary because everybody is not watching TV, but people are on YouTube. They're listening to podcasts. They're on Substack Live to the Dust Bunnies, okay? And the Dust Bunnies...
you'll have to figure out what you're going to call your audience. If you're going to call them like the timekeepers, because it's Clock It.
This is giving us a good
that one's on me.
Situation. I like timekeepers. Okay, we need to solicit some ideas.
Write these down.
Feel free to go to our YouTube, ms.now/clockit, folks. Comment on under the videos and just tell us what you think the people should be called. But I like timekeepers. That's cute.
I do. It was very good.
Well, coming from the new media, there's sometimes a little bit of friction between what we call trad media and the new media, and the idea of like, is there space for everyone? Is one sort of like affecting the other? Like what's going on and who's telling the best stories and which platform? A new term emerged over the last 2 weeks, coined by a trad media journalist who covers influencers, which is sort of an interesting place for her to be in. I've never tried to share my screen on Substack, so we're going to try this live here, see how it works. You guys see that?
There we go. Yeah.
Look at you. Okay. So it's called the bestification of media. And the idea is when influencers, or as they sometimes call us to my anger, newsfluencers, stand in for real journalists. And this really explores the idea of that Jake Shane, the comedian, who's got a huge TikTok following, interviewing Julia Fox and not really like picking up on the social cues of what it means to be on the sidelines of the red carpet. And some entertainment reporters feeling like he stole the job from them or that they shouldn't be using influencers in these spaces. And so she's coined this term, the bestification of media. So I wanted to get your guys' reaction to it. What do you think?
Well, first of all, can I just say anybody that has watched Jake Shane's, and I'm not a regular viewer of his, show, but if you look at his content and you watch or listen to his show, what he did on the red carpet it was at the Vanity Fair after party, after party, is what he does on his show. And so to be very clear, Vanity Fair knew what they were signing up for. I think the rest of America and those celebrities did not, child. And the question becomes, was this the best choice for what it is we want to accomplish? Because they got a lot of clicks, but I think that their hosts have gone viral for the wrong reasons. I've seen a lot of the awkward interviews, and I don't think that's what Vanity Fair was looking for. So maybe next time they need to hire me and Eugene, and we can give them a good red carpet situation. But Eugene, we talked about this with Harry Sisson a little bit. We touched on it when he did our podcast last week.
He did. I think part of it is just like the professionalism, right? Not to say Jake isn't, but it's like the preparation when you're going into those spaces. And I think it's incumbent upon the organizations that are bringing the influences into the space, right? Like Vanity Fair, as Symone said, to make clear what they want and what is going to work. And I think like when we have when we host something, we have a conversation that's between our team, us, and the people that we're going to about what this is going to look like. Do they want Eugene from the podcast? Do they want Symone from the weeknight? Do they want Symone from the 11th hour? You know what I mean? It's like, what does it look? Do they want Symone from election night?
Symone from way too early, baby. She was
exactly.
That's a different girl. Yeah, those are all different parts.
Well, so you have to exactly. And so it's like you have to have a more fulsome conversation. So I don't mind influencers coming in and doing these kinds of jobs. I think that I think that those things can work in tandem. I think it brings a different audience if done right, to what you're doing. I think had Vanity Fair had a more fulsome conversation with what they think the audience wants and is used to versus what they want the audience to want to see. And those are different things that I think it seemed like that it didn't happen. I also think that Jake Shane was used by some of the folks who did not want to have a conversation about some of the other things that happened on the red carpets, like the Tiana Taylor and the person who was working for the Emmys who like grabbed her, and then they had that fight. Very quickly after that, all of a sudden there's a Jake Shane piece. Just saying, it was very interesting.
It was now. Can I just say one other thing that Harry put on the table when we talked to him? Harry Sisson, very large following on TikTok, an influencer, if you will.
Yeah.
He said to us that the barometer that he uses for himself is that he looks at what MS Now reporting is, what the New York Times, what AP is, what Reuters is saying, and that then he builds his analysis and the things that he says in his videos based off that information, and he wants to make sure things are verified and triple checked. I think that there needs to just be a realization that even the influencer news culture would not exist without the traditional media journalists. Like, half the time it's the people getting on there telling you what the AP reported out, because they're the ones out there in Israel or in Iran or the people in Ukraine or the folks on the ground at that shooting, right? And then it is the influencer who has the depth and the agileness to take that, digest it, and then give it to their audience in a way that is digestible and palatable. And I think that that's really important because you got to meet people where they are. But to be very clear, baby, you need a traditional media, okay?
Yes,
these people are not giving you original reporting.
And I
always think of it as like I'm like the Flava Flav of news from time to time. Like we've been doing this for 5 years, so we've graduated into, like you said, original reporting, which for me was the barometer on the difference between maybe like influencer, hype man, and journalist. There are times when I'm doing newsfluencer, and there are times when I'm doing original reporting. But I think of myself as the Flavor Flav of it because I'm like, look, or like a gossip. Like, I could get you excited about the story, but I want you to know that Aaron Logan from the LA Times wrote this story. I want you to know that the original came from this particular photojournalist. And I think that's responsible and a good thing to do. But I agree. I think they tried to say Jake Shane is the reason that nobody who is considered like a digital media person should have a job.
That's
And
not right.
Jake Shane wasn't there to replace, the reporters at
Juliana
Variety
Rancic
magazine or Juliana Rancic.
Justice for
He was
Juliana.
kind of there. Justice for
Juliana Rancic.
He was kind of there to replace what we remember Joan Rivers having been, right? Which is a little bit more like a comedian on the red carpet who's sort of getting celebrities and sort of this bestification or this chummy kind of make fun of them way.
But even Joan
he
had
just
a rapport.
Is no Joan Rivers. Yeah, he just
Joan had a rapport, and they never put her in the position where she was there to get you the information. Joan was there to give you her
right. And we loved it. Yes.
They used her in a way that made sense for her and the audience. They put Jake Sherman in a position that, frankly, I just don't think Jake Sherman should have been in. And maybe they didn't think it through. Maybe somebody in the Vanity Fair office has been on TikTok clearly and is like,
or maybe they did think it through, and that's what they wanted. They wanted them to talk about it after.
It's a choice.
I think they look at
it's a choice.
They look at the analytics sometimes I see when different folks get picked for things and they go, okay, it has this many followers. People watch the video for this long, so it'll work for me. And it's kind of like, it doesn't exactly work that way. You do have to pick the right chef for the right dinner in some ways.
Yeah.
There's so many people out there doing entertainment reporting well. I've covered the red carpet on GLAAD and had many my own faux pas, and I should know everything. I interviewed Ariana Madix recently, and she's the host of Love Island, right? And she was on the GLAAD red carpet, and all I got in the earpiece was Ariana Madix Love Island, and I was like, "Hey, so tell me, are you looking for a man?" And she's like, "I'm the host," and I was like, "Oh no!" But don't send people.
This is a very good example. I know we've got more to get to, but to be very clear, Eugene and I did we co-hosted MS Now's YouTube live stream for the State of the Union a month ago. And in the lead up to it, everybody was just like, we're gonna do it. Y'all gonna get out there, you're gonna have some friends join. And we're like, where's the research?
We need some information, honey.
Who's gonna be feeding us real-time stats? These are questions we had to ask in the beginning because people were just like, no, y'all can get up there and do your thing. And it's like, our thing requires information.
A lot of I think, and this is something that's really important, is I think people who watch folks like maybe the three of us who when we're on whatever media version we're in, someone like Jake Shane, it's like, oh my God, they're so off the cuff. Look at them. They're just giving it to the girls. And it's like, yeah, but I spend a lot of time before my shows, before our podcast, looking at actual information so that when I do go in front, I can feel casual. I can say it like you would say in a barbershop, a Bible study, or a beauty salon. And so I think when you have, back to the people who are hiring these folks, you have to make sure they're prepared so they can do what they do best. Because if it looks and feels awkward, the viewer is going to look and feel awkward. And therefore, the coverage of it is going to reflect that. And I think in a world in which we live where everybody has an opinion, everybody's sharing it, even when it's raggedy and nasty, right? You and mean, then it should color the way we as professionals, right? Whether you're the news influencer, the Flavor Flav, or the traditional journalist, how we prepare for the work that we're doing.
Maybe this is a good point to stop on that and think about creating connections for some sort of mentorship, right? Because the way that I learned to prepare guests for my live show during the day was the very first time that MS Now prepared me to come on as a commentator, right? The night before, I got the list of all the topics. I got the links of what those topics were going to potentially be. There was 6 of them. They're like, we'll probably get to 4. Try to keep your answers short. Try to make sure you know what you're talking about. So to your point, you can be an expert and you can be prepared for what's going on. Now, if you've never had that experience, you might not know for your own show as a new media creator that that's the level of preparation that goes into what it feels like an off-the-cuff thing, but is actually somebody being queued up for success. So maybe we'll build some better mentorship between trad media and new media. I think it's good. Jen Psaki does this for me all the time when I'm like, girl, I'm so scared. And she's like, okay, just calm down. And this is what you're doing. So.
Yes.
What you do, I think that you are very good at what you do. everybody is not as good as you at what you do. Okay. So there is also, my therapist is talking to me a lot about, staying in my lane and like people. And I think that everybody needs to encourage themselves to stay in. What is your lane? Everybody's lane is actually not interviewing other people. Some people's lane is analysis. Some people's
it's straight
lane
to camera.
Is come on. Some people's lane is just the radio because I don't know. Okay,
because they're ugly. Symone is saying you're ugly. A face for radio only. Read off that teleprompter in your beautiful voice.
Okay. But truly, what is the lane? So I just think we don't need everybody to go out there and like want to be a beat reporter. I'm not a beat reporter. I'm an host. I'm an anchor. Eugene is a reporter. Okay, I'm an anchor. I'm a host. Okay, I give you good analysis, and I can go out there and get the facts because of my relationships that I have with people over the course of my career. But like, I'm going to operate in my lane, and I just think more people need to be in their lane.
I agree. Speaking of being in your lane, the president held a press conference today. Well, Caroline was out there. And is Carolyn or Caroline? When I don't
Caroline, love it.
All right, this is a terrible habit that I have. When I don't like somebody, I can't remember their name.
Like, okay, so I have this as well.
Y'all sound like
I rename people. I won't say their names because it will be obvious what I'm talking about. But I have definitely given people in my head a different name and then forgot what their original name was. It had to be pulled back. Like, no, their name is not
like
Bob.
Christy Nome. I'm like, oh, Horse Girl, cosplay Horse Girl, right? But so Caroline Levitt. We don't have to worry about her anymore. Gets out there today. And what we've seen over the weekend, which I think is so interesting, is a lot of really well-produced propaganda coming from the Iranian regime, potentially by way of Russia. We're talking about those Lego videos that people, if you haven't seen them, Google Iranian propaganda Lego.
Unfortunately, they are very good.
They're very good and they're extremely effective.
Propaganda.
It's very scary. And the One Vengeance videos, we're just talking about like all of the nations and people that the United States has, harmed in many different ways, including the little girls on Epstein Island. And it shows like all of these people looking up at a bomb coming over, and the bomb's coming from the Ayatollah, and it's crashing into the Statue of Liberty, which looks like, the deity Baal or whatever. I'm Catholic. We're not allowed to think about these things, So
I went to Catholic school my whole life. I understand.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh no, I can't during the Holy Week. I can't be talking about these demonic forces.
Correct.
Don't
get into trouble. Don't get into hell with this video.
We'll get into that next. But, she comes out and people are like, hey, the president is saying that these negotiations are going well, that Iran is begging for a ceasefire and that they've agreed to almost all 15 of his points. Iran is saying, we have never heard from this girl. We have no idea who you're talking about. We don't know her. To quote Mariah Carey, I don't know her. So who should we believe? And she gets out there and is like, we're talking about the president of the United States, an American citizen at the highest level, versus Iran, who chants death to America in the streets. And I'm like, you're not answering the question, though. Are you actually having negotiations with Iran? And why should the American people believe this administration that has lied to them? And so I wanted to get your guys' reaction to her basically saying, believe us, not them, because America.
President Donald Trump has, since 2015 as a politician, and for his entire work career before that, been someone who has not told the truth often. So the idea that you can take him at his word when his team can. Now, this is coming from someone, Gene Daniels, who has covered him for years and who talks to people who are around him. There are often times, since he became president the first time around, where he says something in an interview, on the phone, on Fox News. He calls a reporter and says something. He says something in front of the camera at a party, at a rally, and his team has to go back and try to figure out how to make that the thing, like make that thing true, right? And so we cannot always believe what Donald Trump says. And as a matter of fact, multiple times during this war, which is when you would expect a president of the United States, a citizen of the highest order in America, to be careful and judicious about the way they speak about the war, he has been out of touch with his own Secretary of Defense in the same day where they have talked about things. So it's like that's why it's incumbent to have independent journalists, whether they be traditional or new, who are having conversations with people who are behind the scenes to help dig through some of this. Because governments, and this is something that I think I have learned as I've gotten older, this as a human and definitely as a reporter, I think for so long took for granted that the government was telling us the truth.
Yeah.
And there have been so much evidence that the government, if not outright lying, is spinning, right? And so it takes someone to dig through the spinning and the lies to figure out the truth. But we have seen over and over that that's not true. Like this is a White House that just a few weeks ago called it fake news that Bill Maher was getting a Kennedy Center award. And then, this week it said, oh, he's getting the award. And so it's like, they lie about that.
Pride, like,
so they lie about stupid stuff like that. Of course, you have to be careful about taking their word for it when they're talking about Iran. Now, the Iranian regime and what's left of it, they also lie quite a bit. And so like it is, that's what makes this part of it very, so does the Israeli government. Like that's what it makes it really difficult in this war to figure out what the truth is.
As someone that used to, like, I used to work in the government, and I've worked for a number of different elected officials, from a mayor to state legislative folks to governors, all the way up to the president, vice president of the United States of America. And I can say that usually it is, especially when you are the elected official, you endeavor to give the most accurate information possible, because you don't ever want to be caught lying. I was a spokesperson for most of my career, and the rule that I had for myself is that I would never lie. Okay, so I would never take a job where they would ask me to lie. Will I spin? Will I fudge? Will I make it look as cute as possible? Absolutely.
She has and will.
I'm not going to tell you a lie. And because once I start lying, then my credibility is shot. So I can't go back to Eugene again and try to give him some information because I lied to him the last time. And the problem with this administration is that they have continuously lied to us. Like, we can just set Trump 1 aside. Trump 2.0, they have lied every single day from every single podium in that administration, from the White House press briefing room to the Pentagon briefing room to the briefing room down in Florida to every single, they continuously, Kristi Noem lied to us. Now she don't got a job. Like the lady that killed Cricket. Cricket was the dog, y'all.
Justice for Cricket.
Justice
for Cricket. Always.
So because they have lied, the presumption of the benefit of the doubt, we have to be skeptical of them. And so what I think what Caroline Levitt was trying to do today is, again, they're trying to gaslight us and browbeat the American people into, like, believe what we say, not what you have seen, right? Just believe what we say. And that's very like George Orwellian 1984-ish of them, but it's on brand. And so, we have to interrogate and ask the questions. And frankly, when Trump is gone, because he will leave office, okay? It ain't gonna be soon.
One way or another.
Right? Well, one would argue it would be an impeachment and removal, but I've met the United States Congress and LOL. When he does leave, the government that comes after that one, whether it be a Democrat or a Republican, they are going to have to deal with the fact that the government, that the American people we all just recently experienced, were a bunch of freaking liars. And because they're a bunch of freaking liars, we all need to be very skeptical about whatever this next government is saying they are doing.
There's also just like the dumb stunts that they do, where it's not a lie necessarily to the American people, but they do the silliest, stupidest things. I'm going to show you another thing here, just to get your reaction. Over the weekend, the Army apparently flew by Kid Rock's home.
What?
And Task and Purpose and Army officials are looking into a video of an AH-64 Apache helicopter that appeared to get a wave and salute from the rock star. They're really using that liberally. Outside his home in Nashville, Tennessee.
Kid Rock was an icon, okay?
Was he, or he has a one-hit wonder? Very Milli Vanilli.
Craig David got 2 hits, and y'all gonna take it away from Craig David?
Look, no. Well, Craig David's not a rock star either.
The Army is now having to investigate who authorized this propaganda. Speaking of propaganda, right? And I think those kind of things are lies too, because I don't think that we'll get the truth from who did that, whether that was some rogue person within the Pentagon who thought it would be fun and cool, or whether that was a planned White House opportunity to create some kind of patriotic moment that they're so desperate for. Y'all watch the news every day. You do the news every day. You read a lot of news. You know more than the average American by probably 100-fold. And there's so many things that don't even make it to TV because there's just a fire hose of shit coming at people all the time. Given everything you know, do you think we should believe the president and the White House when they say that America is safe right now?
Look, I think we have to be skeptical of the claim, right? I think we just have to be skeptical of the claim. Are we safe? Well, that's not the question. I think the question is, are we safer today than we were a month ago before the Iran war? And I think the evidence would suggest that we are actually quite more vulnerable. Are we safer today than we were a year ago? I think the evidence would suggest the answer to that question is likely not, given the fact that, the FBI folks who are supposed to be working on counterterrorism are now focused on mass deportation. Like, these are just the facts. I also would like to, we don't know who ordered the situation to fly by Kid Rock's home, but I bet you that cost thousands of dollars.
If not millions.
Taxpayer dollars, right? So we got money to fly past Kid Rock's house on a whim, but we don't have money to fund the Obamacare, to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Okay, we don't have money for to extend the child tax credits. We don't have money for a lot of things, but I'm seeing a lot of money being spent. Those are the questions I definitely have. I'm concerned.
I think when I speak to national security experts, people who like work on this for a living, I think they would answer the question similarly to Symone. Is that post Iran war, we are more vulnerable, and it takes you look no further than someone like Kristi Noem, who was the DHA secretary, and the focus that she was given by Donald Trump and Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff in the White House, was on immigration. What some of the folks at the FBI who would normally be paying a lot of attention to the homeland and what's happening, a lot of them have been pulled off and been put either fired, first of all, if they worked on anything Trump-related in the past, or been put on different teams that now focus a lot more on immigration and immigration removal. So that tells you that the apparatus around and in the places in which we as Americans pay into so that to keep us safe, because they're not doing this out the goodness of their own heart, they're getting paid. And so those people have been moved. A lot of those people have been moved or removed. And more importantly, the information gathering and giving to the president of the United States, who makes the final decision, is also raggedy. The NSC has been gutted, which is the National Security Council. You have a Secretary of State who is serving as Secretary of State and as National Security Advisor. And you would typically have a National Security Advisor whose role is to play referee from a lot of the other cabinet members who come to the president with intel and goals and plans. And you have a president who doesn't appear, to read what he is given. And as a matter of fact, what they are giving him about the Iran war, this was reported recently, is every day they're giving him, like I think it was from NBC, they're giving him a nice little sizzle reel of bombs that are dropping, right?
American
it's like, isn't the war pretty, sir?
On the war.
Isn't this so pretty, sir? And this is why when he speaks about the war, when he talks, whether it's behind the scenes or whether he's in front of cameras, he's talking about these beautiful bombs that are dropping. And oh my God, can you imagine? Like, we push it and then it goes. Like, yeah, that's how bombs work. Duh. But like that, and so that is why people should be concerned about it, because the president of the United States, despite having there's no human being on earth who has more access or the ability to access more information than the person who sits behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office in the White House. And yet he does not do that. He does not focus on that. He is in a war, and he launched the war from Mar-a-Lago. Okay? He launched and took the leader of Venezuela while he was in Mar-a-Lago. He goes to Mar-a-Lago, I think 9 times since the beginning of this war. And so what does that tell you about the kind, and of course the president can be president everywhere, but you want the American people to believe that adults have their hands on the things. And the fact that he's not having these conversations in the real situation room, instead they have to like do this makeshift situation room and then they sing around propaganda pictures. It's not the same thing.
Not even a skip.
It's not the same thing.
It's not secure. Like, to be very clear, you can. When Eugene says the president can be the president from anywhere, that's very true. In Mar-a-Lago, I'm sure they have an actual secure room where the president can have secure meetings. But when you see these pictures,
it's the bathroom where he kept those Epstein files and everything, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, that's where the document.
You would hope they'd add another one.
Yeah, in the gold toilets. Yeah, the curtains are not secure. Like, I just want to be real clear. Like, and we haven't seen like the fulsome view of the room, but if it is it's curtained, it doesn't feel like, I don't know. I've been in a lot of secure rooms with the president and vice president of the United States of America, and the rooms that I've been in, they look very different. I can't have devices in these rooms. Like,
no, that's what I was gonna say. You know how I know it's not secure?
So that the noise can't be heard. Like, there's some things.
Anytime I was doing anything, whether it was with the DOD or if I was lucky enough to be in the Oval Office that day, or if I was meeting with Madam Vice President, or if I was meeting with John Kirby, the first thing they do, take your phone, take your watch, check your earrings,
snatch it out.
And you put it in that
Are those Meta glasses? Are they anything?
Yes.
Can I frisk you, basically? And you got to have a badge and a sticker and everything. The fact that I see their phones and their Apple Watches out, I'm like, these are deeply unserious, dangerous people.
Now, I will say, Susie Wiles, the president's chief of staff, she was wearing a whoop. As a person that also has a whoop is one of those approved devices that you
I don't trust anything.
It was a whoop.
I don't trust anything. After Israel and the beepers and everything, I don't trust anything. They can put anything in anywhere. You never know. You never know. Well, I appreciate both of you and the empathy that you showed in that answer there. And I think that this is a really important thing. People can, tend to believe that the trad media or mainstream media is cold and they're not connected. And I think that we prove every day that that's just not true. In particular with the both of you allowing people into your group chat through Clock It, and the way that in that particular answer, you exemplified so much empathy and understanding of what the American people need to hear, and that it's not a lie. They need to hear, I think we are more vulnerable than we were. Yeah. That's the real answer. And I think that's something for us to hold people accountable to.
Look, it's scary out there. I know I'm looking at the chat. The people are like, we should be so worried. He doesn't care about Americans. To him. Yes, we should be concerned. I'm concerned. I wake up every day concerned. Yeah. If y'all watch the weeknight, I'm like, so I'm
always
concerned.
Worried. Yeah.
Wait for me not to be concerned. But to be very clear, that's why we have to, sometimes you got to laugh to keep from crying.
That's right.
While all these terrible things are still happening in the world, amazing things are also taking place. So we have to hold on to that hope, that optimism, that positivity to navigate through these very perilous times.
Yes. As a Catholic during the Holy Week, I'm holding on to the Pope laying the law down on the president this week. He came out here and he was like, God don't listen to your prayers. Then Leo came out here. I was like, that's my Pope. All of a sudden I became like deeply Catholic. All of a sudden I was like, yeah. That the Lord doesn't listen to the prayers of warmongers. They make it no higher than the ceilings of your palaces. I was like, I get that tattooed.
That
Very clear.
Saying God is not listening to you. That's crazy.
I wouldn't make some changes if the Pope said that about me. I'm just saying. I would look inward myself. Oh, I would look inward.
Well, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you all both for being here today and chat with us.
Thank you.
You can catch them on MS Now, so many different shows, so many different times, and also the Clock It podcast, which is a great way to, like you said, kind of relax, let your guard down a little bit while still learning and having a little bit of fun with it, because that is how we get through it, right?
The only way.
Yeah.
I know. Thank you both, and I will see y'all soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.